All right, Malcolm, let's get to Celeste.
All right.
I figured we'd save this for the end of the conversation. You and I have played a significant amount of Celeste, you more than me.
How many hours did you have, log?
I think I have about 15 hours in.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool.
Not terrible.
What map are you on?
I think I made it to the third map.
Okay, so you're past the dream. She already talked to her mom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be the hotel, correct?
That sounds right.
Yep.
Yep. I still think I like Chapter 2 better so far than I'm liking Chapter 3, though. Mm-hmm. Because Chapter 2 introduces you to the mechanic where you dive through the water. Mm-hmm. And I think that adds a...
Wait, are you talking about in the dream? That's a water bubble. I took it as like a mirror, like an actual...
Oh, you think it's a mirror?
Yeah, because once the other part of me becomes manifested or breaks out of the mirror, that all those other parts of the mirror, now you can travel.
Well, it ripples, though, like water would.
Yeah.
So that's why I was thinking that it was water, like...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting.
I mean, just this debate we're having right now is one of the things that I think is a knock against the game, in that I think it should have been a different art style in the game.
To be more clear.
To be more clear, there are some maps that I've been having trouble completing because I can't tell what's in the background or the foreground. Like, there might be a little thing that's supposed to be closer to me that I can land on or whatever. To me, it looked like a background thing. So I didn't bother trying to jump on it or whatever because I didn't think it was part of the fucking map. So I think that the cutscenes are really cool. The animation and the art style during the cutscenes is nice.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a really well drawn and well done cartoon. I think they probably could have voiced the characters. Because right now you just get whenever anybody's talking. And, I mean, that's fine, but I think you could have found somebody to say the lines.
There's like 6 people on that group that made the game, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure one of them could have voiced some fucking shit.
Yeah.
They can borrow our mics if they want to. So, let's tell our listeners exactly what this is. So, Celeste is a game we've talked about a couple of times on the podcast. It is a platformer that is kind of introducing some new mechanics to the platformer genre. So it looks like Super Mario Brothers, but it plays more like N+.
Yes.
And it even has because there's a momentum mechanic, there's a lot of jumping, there's a lot of like just being in the air, you know.
There's timing.
Timing for sure. And there's timing in Mario and N+. That's kind of a platformer thing. So the levels aren't scrolling through like you would in Mario. They're more like N+, where you go to a scene and the whole screen, the level that you're in the screen is the section that you're trying to get through. But in N+, there's a gate in each screen, whereas in here, you're trying to get to different levels of the screen or different areas of the screen. So like, you might have to go from the bottom left to the top right, and you, as the player, need to figure out how to make that happen.
Yep.
Whether it be using your double jump or using your wall climb or using your momentum to throw you over there via some of the like blocks that are in the map that move once you touch them. And in the second chapter, the dream chapter, I guess, there is a mechanic that you can use your momentum to go through this ripply stuff that may be water, maybe liquid mercury or some mirror shit, and that accelerates your momentum when you go through those, and just brings another layer of puzzle solving to the game that I thought was super cool.
Yeah, I thought that they did a really good job throughout the chapters introducing those different mechanics.
For sure.
Because it wasn't just all at once, right? It just slowly integrated different mechanics that you had to be aware of.
Yeah.
Like you just start off with like your basic, they call it a dash, like any direction you want, up and over at the same time to get that diagonal.
Yep.
You can do that dash. It was really cool because in that mirror or in the dream world where you can go through the water mirror, whatever we want to call it, you have to have it at a certain angle, because if you dash right through it and you on the other side is a solid object, your character dies.
So since it accelerates you through it,
yeah,
if you are accelerating at a diagonal and it accelerates you into the wall, then you smash into it and you die. Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot course correct while I am in the water.
Yep.
So I need to decide before I jump in which direction I need to travel.
Yep.
So the coolest one that I remember is in like this bonus part, and each of the stages, like, it doesn't tell you where to go, but there's usually multiple exits of each part of the map when it moves over to the new scene, and you just go to whichever one you think is the right way, up or down. Now, when you're climbing the mountain, okay, most of them are up, but also some of the bonus parts are if you go down. There was one particular one where you had to jump with the music.
Yeah.
And
it's the blue and
the
pink
blue
one.
and red, right, platforms are either blue in color or red in color.
Yep.
And they'll alternate with the timing of the music, and you can only land on them if they're blue. So you have to jump your character through this little level part and land on these platforms when they're blue in time with the music all the way through. That one probably took me 20 times to get through it because, one, I have no rhythm, and and two, it's just like some of that platforming is pretty difficult to do. And you have a double jump that your character can do, but you can only utilize that once. So once your double jump is spent, you are falling, and you better be trying to land where you're gonna go, or you're gonna fall to your death and die.
Yeah.
And this is not a game about survival. This is a game about persistence.
Yep.
So as soon as you die, it very quickly, like, you can reset the game and be right back at it. It's not like there's no loading screens. It just jumps you right back into the game, which, like N+, that's very similar to N+, because, you know, you can just get right back into N+, and then you can die immediately again, which is what I keep doing in Celeste. But
I like that it keeps track of your deaths. I had 4,400 deaths.
oh my God.
Yeah.
4,400?
Yep. 16 hours playtime.
So it looks like I'm going a little bit slower through it than you have been.
Well, because during one of the load screens in between, like after a conversation or section there, it said that strawberries have no value. They are just for bragging rights. So at that point, I was like,
oh, you said fuck it.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I ended this game with 11 strawberries. Like that's how
more than that right now.
That's how much I did not care about strawberries when I saw that little postcard that said strawberries have no value.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was like, no point. Now here's a funny thing, and we're doing spoilers, right? You're fine with that?
Oh yeah. Wait. Let me hit it.
We got fucking spoilers.
Okay.
All right. So it was really funny that I said to hell with the strawberries, because at the very end of the game, when you and all the characters that you come in contact with are at this like little cabin hut, they're like, oh yeah, Madeline, you can make us a strawberry pie with all the strawberries you've collected. I'm like, yep, 11. 11.
I don't know if that's enough. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's really going to cut it. We could each have a strawberry.
Right. I don't know if we can make a strawberry pie, though. And actually, I'd have to look at it. Maybe when you complete the game, it'd be interesting to see, because they actually made a comment about the quality of the pie.
No way.
Yeah. And so I don't know if it was based on the fact that I didn't collect any. So since you are collecting those strawberries, I would be interested to see if at the end of it...
I think I'm up to like 20 or 22 strawberries.
Yeah.
Like already, and I'm not even as far. But I have been spending a significant amount of time trying to get those strawberries. Like, to me, it does add another layer to the game where you're like, okay, I know that these are completely superfluous and I don't need these at all. But also, like, it's right there.
Right.
I could
it's
just
glowing.
try and grab it, though.
And it's really cool, too, because I played it a second time through, exploring other aspects of the game.
Yeah.
And there are some strawberries that are floating in the air.
Yes.
That as soon as you dash, it goes up into the air. So you have to access that point without utilizing your dash.
Wow.
Because otherwise it floats up and you don't get that strawberry anymore.
I have noticed that you don't collect the strawberry until you land.
Yes, correct.
So I would have a couple of times where I'd be like, bam, got the strawberry, right? Fall to my death. Nope.
Yep.
Nope, sure don't. I have to figure out how to hit that strawberry and then land whatever maneuver I'm doing in order to collect said strawberry.
Yeah.
And that has been a little little difficult. I'm not going to say like this is impossible to figure out, but it is a lot of trial and error.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so on our Instagram, you put up a video of a segment of the map that you completed, and I know it's your video because I did it differently.
Okay.
And I also saved that video of me playing that segment, so it'd be cool to maybe put those side by side.
Yeah.
And that has been cool for me to see, like, because what you did in this particular segment was you jumped up and you let the block drop. Mm-hmm. And then you stood on that block and jetted straight up with your double jump. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know you could make that jump. So what I did was I went horizontal to the spot where you can climb up and then jumped back the other way. So I went horizontal, stood on the wall, and then jumped back the other way with my double jump. Yep. And just climbed up really quickly before that block fell. Yeah. And it was just cool to see you do it that way and me do it this other way when I didn't even know yours was a solution.
And that is really cool, is that because there was sometimes that I would be so fixated on certain sections of the game that I got to do it this way. Right. That before I could get past certain areas, and I got a lot of clips saved from this because I found it fascinating, that aspect of the game, that I was so fixated on having to do this one section this way that I was dying so much. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Like, let me look at the section. What else can I do that would give me the ability to get through this? To give you an example, there was one where you jump on a platform, but it's the brittle rock, so it falls away right away, so you have a certain amount of time. I kept jumping over, like, horizontally to the left on the map to land on this thing, and then I would try to jump up, then dash to reach the wall to climb on. And I couldn't get it. I'm like, dude, there's no way. And like, because there were several times where I'm like, maybe that's where assist mode comes in. And I was like, okay, no, I'm not going to do that.
I'm not a bitch. I'm not a bitch.
Yep. Yeah, because that's what they clearly say when they are talking to you. They're like, they got you in the operating room and they're talking you out of the surgery. Basically, they're like, I mean, if you really want to, you can, but I mean, what will your friends think? What will Justin think? What will Sam think?
I'm not sure if those two think at all.
Oh. Well, never mind then. Conscience clear.
Right?
All right. So yeah, back to that. I would jump horizontally up, and then after looking at it, I'm like, okay, instead of jumping horizontally across to that little tiny ledge, because I only had this much space. Yeah. For the listeners, I'm holding up my hand in a sea.
Not very much.
Yeah, not very much. Okay. So instead, when I landed on that brittle platform, and you only have a few seconds, I would immediately jump up, but then dash straight up from that platform and grab onto the ledge. Because at this point in the game, you have 2 dashes. Okay. And then I jumped over and then dashed up again and then had to climb up. I thought stamina was a pretty good mechanic too, because you mentioned that earlier.
So when you're wall climbing, you only have a certain amount you can stay on the wall. Like in N+, you can do it indefinitely. There's no stamina mechanic. You slide down the wall, but you're a
ninja.
Because you're a ninja. And you can keep jumping on the wall as long as you want to. So you can kind of like hover on the wall in N+ and decide what your next move is. Even though the time is ticking down in N+. So I guess it is kind of similar where it's a time thing in N+ versus a stamina bar in Celeste. But in Celeste, it happens a lot faster. Oh, yeah. Because you run out of stamina pretty quickly. Like there's no bar, but your character starts sweating.
And getting blue.
And you can like see, you can almost feel it. Like I can feel her weakening as you're holding onto the ledge, and I'm like, I gotta jump. I gotta fucking jump. She's gonna die.
And there's certain areas that you can't hold on to the wall. You have to be pretty quick to jump from one wall to the other so that your stamina doesn't wear out in order to get through. So, I mean, it's just, man.
The amount of mechanics in this game, those are the things that make it fun. Yeah. Like, I think the level design is really well done. I like the story, working through her mental illness thing, I think is a thing that doesn't come up enough in games.
On the story for the listeners, so you play as this girl, and she has decided to take this trip and climb Celeste Mountain.
Real quick, did you know you could name your character?
Yes.
Oh, damn it! How did I'm the only one that missed that? What the fuck?
I didn't change the name, though. I just left it the same for the sake of just...
What was the name?
Just Madeline.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Standard
so that's
name.
the default name.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep, I just left it the same.
I thought maybe it was a randomly generated name and like... So Troy said he named his character, and I'm like, what the fuck do you mean named your character?
No, yeah, I just left
an
it.
Idiot.
I just left it the same.
Okay.
Because I knew we'd be putting videos up, so that
Right.
way it's standard.
Yep.
But yeah, so you're this character, play as this character, and she has decided to go on this trip to climb Celeste Mountain. I don't know why I got into this, but I started looking up the definitions of some of the names throughout the game.
Yeah.
So to kind of start with that, Celeste is a female given name from Latin meaning heavenly.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. So you got heavenly, like mountain, basically.
Okay.
And then you have Madeline, it says elevated as far as like meaning of name.
Really?
Yeah. It says tower or elevated because it derives from Magdalene, which is
okay.
yeah, Mary
Yeah.
Magdalene.
Yep.
Or Magdalene. Theo, a guy that you meet throughout the game, his name is God-given, is what that means.
Weird.
Yeah. Shuri, or how do you say that? The guy in the hotel.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure how to say it.
Okay. His name means big castle, which is funny because they're in a hotel,
Right,
which
right.
is Celestial Resort, but it is a huge, like, I mean, it is very similar to a rundown, like, castle, so
Right.
that's kind of funny that he's running that. I don't know if I'm sure that they
That
did.
has to be a conscious effort, right? Like,
Yes.
those names don't just fall into place like that.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because you have that old lady. I don't think she has a name, but she's kind of like Yoda, like
Yeah, right.
sort of throughout the thing where
Yeah.
she's laughing at her, and you could have done that. She made a comment in one of the sections that it says that the lady at one point in the conversation, and I saved the clip because it just sounded like it was just odd hearing it or
Yeah.
reading it,
Yeah.
not hearing it because I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I heard it. She tells them they're talking about the other part of her that manifests in her dream. It says the mountain doesn't bring out anything that wasn't already there. And so
Okay.
I was like, wow. So it's funny that in her dream, she sees the other part of her in the mirror. Probably metaphorically and realistically, every time she looks at the mirror, that other part of her is what she sees because she has a lot of self-conscious, like,
Yeah.
self-confidence issues, like throughout the game and panic attacks. And even at the end of the dream, she's talking to her ex-boyfriend from like 6 months ago.
Right.
And
right.
so that I like that they didn't really dive into the other part of me because it kind of leaves it open for other people that are playing the game. Since it's a female character, probably more derived for people that are playing it that are female, but guys too. There's part of us that maybe we're not exactly proud of from the past. We gotta not look in the mirror. We can't always look at that as who we are. You know what I'm saying?
That's super deep.
Yeah.
Holy shit. For this fucking 8-bit platformer, that's super deep, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a story that I was not expecting to enjoy. So when this got some attention at the Game Awards and the Giant Bomb guys talked about it on their podcast when they were doing their Game of the Year stuff, to me, I was like, Jesus, that looks like shit. Like, the art style in that is garbage. I hate the way the levels look.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not even going to bother playing that because it looks terrible. And I think it launched on Switch, or came out on Switch in like May or June, and they were already talking about it then on their podcast, and I was like, I'm not gonna check that out. That doesn't seem like anything I'd like to play. And then it comes to, Xbox Live games with gold, and I thought, okay, fine. Now it's probably one of the best games that I've played this year so far. I know we're only in January, but like, holy shit, it's so good.
Yeah, it really is. And just the names, like when I was like reading all this, I'm like you said, it had to have been a conscious effort. And, Theo meaning like God-given, it was like, oh, maybe he's like a guardian angel. Because there's one point in the story that he falls like 40 feet and then just gets right up and was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, no big deal. Like, oh, okay. I think it's funny that he has an Instagram doing selfies. Like he mentions, I don't know if it was Instagram, but he talks about like, I almost have 1,000 followers.
Right. That's what I tell people.
When did you come across Theo?
I am not exactly sure what part of the story I was at.
Because he's throughout every chapter.
Really?
Yes. Because when I played it through the second time, exploring the different mechanics of it, he was in the first level. And I'm like, wait, I didn't see him at all. I didn't see him till after the dream world. After you were done chasing it, like it was being being chased.
When's he at in the first level?
He's like off to the side, like a little side.
Really?
Yeah. So you're about left bottom of the screen.
Okay.
And you have to go to the top right to access the next section. But over to the left is like some brittle rock. You dash at it and it caves in.
Yeah.
And then there's like some strawberries, but then Theo is in there. And I'm like,
what?
Wait, I didn't see him. And so I thought that was cool that the game didn't force you to encounter Theo.
Right.
Until you encountered him. Kind of like going back to how in all of our lives, we kind of come across things at different times. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, I don't know how to describe it, I guess.
Well, I mean, I think we've already addressed like how deep this game manages to get with such simple graphics and simple mechanics. Like if you look at something like, I mean, I hate to keep comparing it to N Plus or Mario, but I think those are two games that are really close in terms of the gameplay and the styling. And like there is a paragraph of text worth of story in N Plus. Like if you go to the story part of the menu in N Plus, it literally says like you're a ninja, like it's your destiny to do this, and that's pretty much it. Or if you look at Mario, like I guess you could argue Mario is telling a story because he's trying to rescue the princess, but not really.
It's the same story.
Right, but not really.
This broken record. She keeps getting lost or captured or running away.
Story of my life. But Celeste manages a significant amount of storytelling in its presentation, whereas like they didn't have to do that. Like the mechanics are strong enough in this game where they could have not told a story at all and it would still be a really good game.
Oh yeah.
But I think with the inclusion of the story, it makes it that much better. Like I was telling you in the dream sequence when you start getting chased by your second self, that is also a mechanic in N+, but your character takes up so much of the screen versus N+ where you're like little tiny guy and you can kind of navigate away from your other people that are chasing after you a little bit easier. If you get touched by your second self, you die immediately. And that is super harrowing when that happens, when she starts seeing the second self and that starts chasing after her. I found myself like stopping and like after I died and being like, okay, how do I plan this segment so I can, you know, jump in ways that will allow me to avoid the person chasing me. And that is not a mechanic that I've had to account for in other games. It is mirroring you in the same way that you move, so now I have to adjust my movements to avoid the mirror. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, because throughout that level too, there's like 2 or 3 of them that start populating. So where you avoid the one as you're coming across like over this other platform, the last one may just be now getting there, and then you run in and you're like, oh, God damn it. You're like, man, like,
I don't know that I can really say enough praise about it. Like, I really, really like it, and
it was very enjoyable.
It's so cool that it's free right now for Xbox Live. I think it's free till the end of this month, so even when this comes out, people will have a little while to still check it out. I think we've probably got to wrap this up here.
If you're fine with just one more.
Sure, go ahead. Yep.
On the deep part of the game.
Yeah, for sure.
So toward the end, she realizes, okay, like I got to deal with this other part of me. And so her first instinct is, okay, I'm just going to set it free. I'm going to get it out of my life, right? And she then realizes that it's a mistake, because then you go through a series where you're dashing at yourself, knock her out, to get through that section. And then it comes to a part where, okay, we're going to work together, and then she becomes a mechanic in the game, your other part of me, to help you get to the top. And that she realizes she was wrong for trying to push her other part of herself like away, and that she has to actually work together. And so like in our lives, when we have that other part of us, right, it's just kind of crazy how sometimes we feel like that it's necessary to push it away or bury it or, you know, whatever, disregard it. And but it's so much better to like address whatever it is that's whether it's like those feelings that you get from that experience that you had, to be able to work like from that and become a better you. Because once you do partner up with your other me, you get like a second dash, you level up or whatever. And so in life, like we got to learn from those, not push those away. I just thought that was like a neat, you know, point, like as you're completing. And it's even cool because at the end, you know, her and the other part of me merge back together and are one finally after reaching the summit.
And that's the part that you put on our Instagram, right? The video of you reaching the summit.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was a little spoilery, and you didn't put that in the notes.
Oh, man.
So now I know what happens, you fucker.
Ah, I am so sorry. You know, I ruined it for Zelda for you, too.
Yeah, well, yeah. Story of my life when I play video games with Malcolm Wilson.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Have you beat Ocarina yet?
No.
We gotta end this.
Yep. We're gonna go play right now.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot to introduce us, Malcolm, so this has been Ryan Wolf. I've had Malcolm Wilson on the episode with me. This is a little short thing that we're doing here before both of us go to work. That's why we're doing it in the morning.
Yep.
We had some inclement weather this week, so we didn't get to release at our regular time on Wednesday. This will probably come out on Friday is what I'm planning. I'll do some touching up on Friday night, and we'll hopefully get this thing put up Friday night before I have to go into work Saturday. So thank you everybody so much for listening. This has been Crazy Train of Thought, episode 65. Again, we're going to get out of here. Thank you everybody so much for listening, and we'll chat with you later.
Yep, later.